Hello everyone, Fanta here, and you're watching Fantavision. And with that intro, I responded to 2 different comments. Somebody saying that, hey, you should use a glass for your beer. They may be rubbing their nuts all over the bottle. I don't think that's what's going on there, but I took the opportunity to use this wonderful glass. And then you got to hear me drink the beer because somebody so lovingly put that. I don't even remember what they put, honestly. They just put a bunch of caps. It was like all caps and yelling at me. So now they get to really hear me as I swallow my beer. You're welcome. So, to that guy, cheers. Delicious. Beer of choice today, before we get into the topic, is Kona Brewing Co. I'm going to butcher this. Hanalei. Yeah, why not? Hanalei Island IPA, ale brewed with passion fruit, orange, and guava with natural flavor added. I like the look of these bottles, and they've got Hawaii on them. Liquid Aloha. I love that. I love these bottles. Today we are discussing GameStop once again. Why am I discussing GameStop again? Well, the videos have been doing well. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm not gonna come up with some bullshit answer. The videos have been doing well with GameStop, and next week we'll switch it up. We'll do either Walmart or I'll do a response video. Be a little bit interesting. If you guys aren't super huge on the response video, I might make a separate video that week. Break the new tradition of Tuesday and make another one on Thursday. We'll see. We'll see how it goes, but that's a week away, and you guys are going to forget everything I say right after this video. So, today we're discussing GameStop goals. And now I know I've talked about GameStop goals a lot, but there's a reason that GameStop goals live in such infamy, and that's because they're just the worst. I mean, they're this thing that just keeps increasing and getting more and more difficult to hit. And there's no incentive besides to not get yelled at. And to me, that's not enough. I mean, there should be some sort of monetary or a vacation or some sort of reward for doing a good job. Now, I know you'd be going, well, Fanta, I mean, it's your job. You're supposed to do well at it. And yes, that's fine. I'm completely fine with, yes, you have to do a certain, there's a certain standard to your work. I get that. That makes sense. Do the best job you can. If you're not trying and it's obvious, then you're going to get canned. But the fact that they got so crazy about these damn goals and they just shove them down your throat and they watch the security cameras and they watch every movement, and if you say something wrong, they dock you, and if your coworkers are doing badly, they blame you. They look for somebody to blame for not hitting these numbers when sometimes you just can't. And we're going to dive into several of these different things today. But first, let's just talk about what GameStop goals are in case you guys didn't know. GameStop goals are as follows. You have to hit a pre-owned percentage. You have to hit a reservation percentage. You have to hit a GPG percentage. You have to hit a PowerUp Rewards card percentage. And then there's also a number that you have to hit for number of items per transaction. I mean, some of those weren't really looked at too much, but the main ones that people really, really looked at were pre-owned percentage, PowerUp Rewards cards, and reservations. And I gotta say, I mean, these things were a pain in the ass. They really were. I mean, sometimes people just did not want to pre-order something, or the store was dead for a week. I mean, it happens. And when that happens, you need to make sure every customer that comes in pre-orders something because you have so few. And if those people just don't want to, or they're regulars and they already have a bunch of stuff pre-ordered, what are you going to do? You're going to get yelled at. That's what's going to happen. And that happened frequently. There were so many weeks where it just was a slow week. Or what's even worse is when a bunch of big games launch or are just about to launch is fine, but they are launching and you just can't do anything. You can't get reserves because everybody just got their new game. Nobody wants to reserve the next game. They have their game. They're happy. It's like November. November is like the worst time to be at GameStop because what the hell are you going to get people to reserve? Yeah, there's some stuff next year, but it's next year. I mean, just because the next year is so close, it still seems so far away. So people aren't going to start reserving games for next year because of that right there. I mean, that logic that it's so far away still. And that's the mindset that they have, and that makes sense, you know? I mean, when you think about a game coming out next year, it sounds so far away. I know I just repeated myself, but I'm just really trying to drive that point home that in November, you just can't. Same with December. December, you can't either. People are just Christmas shopping. They don't want to reserve something. They don't want to be bothered. And most of the customers aren't your regulars. They aren't the normal gamers. They're parents, grandparents, and just other people that just don't play video games, and they're just buying for others. How can you sell them a reserve? You can't. You also say you can't sell them a Power Rewards Pro card either. I know for a while we did have, I think, Pro card gift cards at one point where it was like a future Pro card that they got for Christmas. I don't know. Can you imagine unwrapping that, a Pro card for Christmas? I'd be like, really? It's like worse than socks. I mean, socks I can at least use. In fact, now I'd love socks, but that's beyond the point. The point is that those times are really difficult. And another reason November is difficult is not only are games so far away, but there's just so many launches. Like I said, when there's a time where there's a lot of launches, super difficult to get a reserve because those people have those games already. But during all of these hard times, during these times where people didn't want to reserve anything, they still expect you to hit the same percentage you did a couple months ago when people were hyped about that new game. Power Rewards cards. Now, those weren't super difficult to sell, but they were kind of a pain in the ass at the same time. If they just need to renew it, usually not too difficult because you can see how many years they've had it. You know they're going to renew it at some point. And when you're trying to sell them a used game, you can do quick math and tell them how much the card would be. That was the main strategy, was math. Taking that 10% off of that game and putting it towards that card to make it sound cheaper. So if somebody's buying a $55 game, you could be like, you know, if you get that Pro card today, instead of being $15, it's only going to be $10 today. And then you get 10% off for an entire year. And you do that speech over and over and over. And so you have it perfect and you figure out what works in certain people. And man, that card, I know a lot of people are like, oh, it saves a bunch of money. It's so great. It's a great card. Because there's, for some reason, corporate defenders, which is going to be my next video. But really, most people that I encountered didn't save a whole lot of money with that card. And when it tells you the total amount saved, this has been told my district manager told me this. That total number of dollars that you've saved with your Pro card includes that damn magazine. And that magazine, I think, is worth $7 per magazine. I don't remember what it was. It was something crazy. I was like, are you serious? Like, that's kind of lying, isn't it? I mean, you're not really saving that much money. They're just adding that stupid magazine that people read once while they're on the toilet and then throw away. Or they collect it for some reason like I used to. The card itself is not worth it, especially when you've got the Gamers Club Unlocked card at Best Buy, which people love bringing up in my other video that exploded out of nowhere, where I'm talking about new games that are opened and still sold as new. And yes, Best Buy has Gamers Club Unlocked for new games. You get 20% off. New games. Like, that kills their profit margin. I don't know how they're making money off of that. I'm guessing they're hoping on people that don't buy a bunch of games, but they're not they're not saving any money for me, that's for sure. So 20% off all new games. So that takes every $60 game and you get it for $48. Of course, after tax, it's like $52, $54, depending where you live. But how do you even compete with that as GameStop? How do you sell that card knowing that Best Buy has a vastly superior card? You can buy brand new games cheaper than used. That's just insane. How do you even do that? I mean, you just have to hope that everybody's uninformed. And that's the only way you're going to get people to buy the damn Power Pro card. And like I said, during the holidays, yes, some people you can sell that Pro card to, even if they're just doing holiday shopping because they're buying a bunch of games. But also remember that a lot of these games that people are buying during the holidays are new. Because who wants to open a used game for Christmas? I sure as hell don't. I don't know about you guys, but I love the feeling of unwrapping a new game. I know some of you are going to think that's stupid. Some of you believe in digital, and that's it. And I already hear the comments, oh, Fanta, it's just wrapping on it. It's just cellophane wrap. And it's like, no, it's not. It's not just that. It's the fact that nobody else has touched that disc. No one else has left it out. No one else has spilt soda on it. God knows what they've touched before they touched that case. The case hasn't been through hell, so it's not all scratched up. All of my cases are beautiful because I buy them brand new. I unwrap them myself, and I nicely put them on a shelf. My discs are all pristine condition because as soon as it comes out of that system, it goes right back into the box. And I know that all my games are like that because I've had them from the very beginning. All the manuals, when they used to have manuals, were perfect. I mean, you guys saw my Witcher 3 box in that other video. I pulled out every single insert because I still have every single insert. I still have the stickers. I still have the map. I still have the soundtrack. I have everything in there still. So because of that, I like buying new. And, you know, to each their own, but new on Christmas is the best. New for your birthday is the best. New is just the best, unless you can't buy it new. Like if it's a super old game, that makes sense. But during Christmas time, you can't sell these pro cards because people are buying new stuff. Now, some people, they had a bunch of kids. They were little kids. They didn't care. They were buying a ton of crappy DS games, a ton of crappy Wii games, and a bunch of bargain bin 360 stuff. And then I could sell the damn card. And I could also sell the GPG, which was the gameplay guarantee, which is just a fancy phrase for scratch protection. And that's another thing we started calling it. Instead of GPGs, we call them scratch protection because that's what it was. And that made sense back then. That was an easy thing to sell during the 360 era. It really was. Oh my God. Because that system, you look at it funny, it just ate your game. And that happened a lot. It happened to me. I remember getting Modern Warfare 2 when it first came out. I was playing the hell out of that game. And then out of nowhere, it just started glitching. And mind you, I had just been on the couch playing the game. Nobody'd been near it. I was locked in my room. And my Xbox somehow did that circle scratch on my game. Now, I didn't have the GPG at this point. I had just bought the game that day, and they were cool. And I bought the GPG from them that day just in case it happened again. But I'm just saying that story as an example of why the hell you needed it back then. But now, with modern consoles not eating your frickin' game for no reason, and the Nintendo Switch using a cartridge, there's no point to the GPG. I did a video a long time back on my other channel showing just how durable a PS3 game was. And that's because it uses that Blu-ray disc, and that's what these use. So they're very durable discs. You don't need them anymore. So people trying to hit that number, I feel bad for. I mean, I'm sure there's still a lot of people that buy it. I think it's pointless now. I guess if you have real little kids you have to worry about, but for most people, it's a very difficult era. Mind you, I did sell that gameplay guarantee / scratch protection to people on DS games. Yeah, some people bought it for DS games. I don't know how you scratch a DS game, but there you go. So those things, reservations, they started making us do this thing. Now, I haven't seen this in any GameStop for a while now. This was a thing when I was working there, which was years ago. You would have to leave the counter and approach every single customer, say hello, figure out what game system they're interested in, escort them to that area, and you always had to escort them to the used area, of course, and then you leave them alone for a little bit, you go back, you print out which system they're looking at, and you go back with that reservation list you just printed out and say, hey, you know, if there's anything you're looking forward to on this list, let me know and I'll help you out. Frickin' smart, right? I mean, I think it's annoying as hell, but the idea behind it makes a lot of sense. And a lot of stores were doing this, and it was super annoying when you were working on something and you had to drop everything to just keep printing stuff out. And man, we ran out a lot of toner and a lot of paper. But man, that was annoying. And that was just a thing that we had to do. That was another thing we had to do, and it was another thing that annoyed the customers. But I feel like they've been dialing back a lot of this stuff recently. A lot of people were telling me, hey, they don't do this anymore. And you're right. I mean, they don't do a lot of this annoying behavior anymore. I'm just telling you my tales from retail, my tales from when I worked at GameStop. And that's what we had to do to get those reservation numbers. And they would watch the frickin' security cameras. I said this in the surveillance episode, but if you haven't seen it, just in case, they would watch to make sure every single customer came in and was greeted and handed a frickin' piece of paper. And you know what? If they caught you not doing that one time, you got coached. And coached means that you're like, I think it's like 2 coachings and then you're fired at the 3rd one. So you're getting close to getting fired. Really? Because they didn't hand them a piece of paper? Are you serious? And that also meant you couldn't get promoted for like 6 months. And during these times, I could tell that people that were trying to get promotions were getting coached. I had several coworkers that really didn't do anything wrong. Maybe they missed giving out that flyer. They got coached. They were fucked. They were just completely screwed. So they couldn't get that promotion for another 6 months, even though there were openings. And I'm thinking, conspiracy theory time, putting on my tinfoil hat, I think during this time, they didn't want certain people to move up. And instead of just telling them you're not right for the job or giving them proper training, they would just coach them. I was one of those people as well. And I think that's because I was an outspoken employee. So, kind of frustrating, kind of sketchy, but I'm not going to dive too much into conspiracy theories, but that was definitely one I had during that time. Another time goals were really a big issue at GameStop was when we had to write them. Yeah, so every morning, or it was like every week, no, I think it was every morning, you had to write your goals. And you had to come up with your own goals. And you had to look at last week's goals, trying to figure out how you did. And if you beat those goals, you had to beat them even more this week. So your goals just kept getting progressively more difficult. And that was just ridiculous. I mean, it was crazy how much you had to focus on those damn goals. I mean, whenever another coworker came in, or when I was a manager, I think I was a manager during this time, whenever one of my lower coworkers came in who I was managing that night, I had to make sure they sat down, wasted like 5 minutes trying to come up with the goals, calculating whatever percentage more they had to do, and I then had to talk to them at the end of the night how they could improve their goals, what they could do differently, and it's just ridiculous. And the reason that this is so ridiculous, that goals are so stupid, is not the fact that they exist. Like I said near the beginning of the episode, I understand why goals need to exist. I know people are going to bitch in the comments because they didn't actually watch the video, but I understand that you need to do well at your job to keep it. But there was no paid incentive. There was no incentive at all except for holding on to your job. There's no vacations. You can't just go to that GameStop managers conference thing where it's basically a mini E3. There was no reason to be the best. Except for not getting yelled at. There was no carrot, just the damn stick. And that's GameStop in a nutshell. Just constant verbal beatings by your manager, your district manager, your assistant manager, every single time. And it wears you down, along with all the customers that come in and bitch at you over stupid stuff. And it's the reason that retail is so crappy. It's just because of goals like that. And mainly GameStop. I mean, when I worked at Walmart and when other people I know worked at Target, there was nothing like that. They had nothing like that. They know they're paying you minimum wage for a reason. Because they expect you to do your job, do it well, but that's it. Because it's a minimum wage job. But at GameStop, oh no, you're getting paid minimum wage and you better kick ass or your ass is out on the curb. GameStop, guys. I know a lot of people have been second guessing working at GameStop after seeing these videos, and I don't blame you. A lot of people don't mind the job. I mean, it had its great moments. It had a lot of bad moments. But overall, I mean, it was better than Walmart. But that's not saying much. I mean, it's like saying, oh, well, that turd's got sprinkles on it at least. I mean, the job was just so mentally exhausting. And what you got at the end of the day, what your paycheck gave you, just didn't justify how much stress there was. And these goals were the main point of stress in GameStop. I know I've talked about the customers. I know I've talked about closing. I've talked about opening. I've talked about all these different things. But goals were the main reason I really hated GameStop. And I feel like if they were looser about those goals, they might be now. But that damn circle of life was this circle of stress for so many people that worked there, including myself. And I feel like a lot of these really stressed out workers that a lot of people have been putting in the comments saying, hey, you're right. When I go to my GameStop, the employees look run down. And these goals are why. These goals are why you can't enjoy your job at GameStop. GameStop should be a fun job. It really should be. It should be a job that you go in every day knowing I get to talk to people about video games. And that's what I kept telling myself when I worked there. That's why I was there for so long. Hey, I get to go into work and talk to people about video games. I get to sell a product that I love. And, I actually have another video I just thought of, pre-orders. Pre-orders just by themselves I could talk about. I could do a whole video on. Because nowadays, and especially near the end of my employment at GameStop, you're talking about video games, but you're also selling video games. And not just by selling video games. Like selling video games, you might be thinking, oh, well, duh, you work at GameStop, you sell video games. And I mean selling video games. Getting fed the corporate garbage coming up from way up in Activision, way up in EA, way up in all these different places, way up in GameStop corporate, and selling these games before they're out. You are part of that marketing engine that is fueling the AAA greed and lies. And that is something I'm going to talk about in a future episode of Tales from Retail. Thank you, everyone. I know this was a very long episode. Thanks for sticking around if you're still watching. Leave a like down below if you guys like the video. Comment down below what you think about goals and how they can maybe handle it differently. Because like I said, I understand why goals need to exist. But there must be a different way that they can do it. I think there could be an easy carrot system. And what I mean by that is give rewards. Reward good behavior. Reward good quality work. Because those people deserve to be rewarded. Give them a small bonus. Give them a game. Your GameStop. You have video games. Give them a damn game. You have a lot of them. And I feel like if they did that, we'd have happier workers, people that don't hate themselves, and the whole verbal beatings need to go away. I mean, sure, it makes sense for some people that aren't trying, but most people at GameStop try. It wasn't the easiest job to get into when I got it. So, thanks again for watching. And as always, guys, subscribe for more content. And I need you to always, no matter how bad your day is, turn it around and have a Fanta-tastic day. See you guys. I just completely missed my mouth. You guys saw that. I went like this. I've had half a beer. What is wrong with me?